Hey, folks, welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast presented by Fujifilm. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. Our guest this week is Natalie Nakase, the head coach of the WNBA's newest franchise, the Golden State Valkyries. So many firsts with Natalie that we touch on in this episode. She was the first Asian American to play in the National Women's Basketball League. She was the first female head coach of a men's professional team in Japan. She was the first female coach to sit on the bench for the Clippers Summer League team. And she was the first Asian American coach to win 2 WNBA titles as an assistant coach with the Las Vegas Aces under the legendary Becky Hammond. And now the first Asian American coach in WNBA history. Lots of firsts for the Huntington Beach, California native. I have known Natalie since she first came on the scene with the Clippers as their video coordinator in 2012. She worked her way up the ladder under head coaches Doc Rivers and Ty Lue. I always got a kick out of seeing her run drills pregame with the Clippers players, most notably the 7'4" Boban Marjanovic, a full 2 feet taller than Natalie. Natalie was a standout in high school and had a stellar career for the UCLA Bruins, but her professional career was cut short due to injury. Natalie's story is inspiring, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to bring her on the podcast. She's an example of resilience and hard work that all of us can admire. Big thanks to Natalie for taking time away from her busy schedule, gearing up for the Valkyries' inaugural season. Enjoy this chat with Natalie Nakase, and as always, folks, I'll see you on the backside. All right, well, welcome, Natalie Nakase, to the Legends of Sport podcast, a true Legends of Sport. Natalie, don't argue with me about that, all right?
I will argue. It's a little too soon for this.
Oh, no, not at all. It's so great to see you, Natalie. You know, you and I go back a long way. I was trying to remember when, probably 2012, when you started with the Clippers, right? Mm-hmm. And now look at you. You're in the big seat here. You're now the coach of the WNBA's newest team, the Golden State Valkyries. I mean, we're going to get into that, but how's it feel, first of all?
I think, honest, overwhelming.
Yeah.
Obviously it is exciting, getting the job, but the things behind the scenes, I'm starting to learn.
Yeah.
Thinking, I was also told, like, you're basically the CEO. And I'm like, okay. So it's the scheduling. It's the many things to do behind the scenes has been good for me, though. It's a great challenge for me.
I'm sure. I mean, as you say that, I'm thinking like you're CEO of a startup of a professional sports team owned by one of the greatest franchises in the history of franchises, really. I know Joe, I know Peter really well. So, like I said earlier, we've known each other since 2012, right? One of my fondest memories of you, quite frankly, and we're going to embarrass you and put this in the podcast, is this great picture I have of you warming up Boban before the game, and he's got at least 2.5 feet on you minimum, right? But you know what, it always like intrigued me. You're out there, you with those guys, you're mixing it up, you're showing video. I mean, I know you started with the Clippers as assistant video coordinator, right, and kind of worked your way up there, but I want to kind of go back like we usually do, Natalie, with all our guests and find out where it started, right? So you obviously a standout high school player, Huntington Beach, right?
Yes. And
I'm looking at like all of the firsts that you've accomplished in your life, in your career so far, all right, at your young age. I'm just going to rattle them off, all right, and we can talk about any of them that you want. But the first Asian American to play in the National Women's Basketball League. You're the first female head coach of a men's professional team in Japan. You're the first female coach to sit on the bench for the Clippers in their summer league team. First Asian American coach to win 2 WNBA titles with the Las Vegas Aces. And now you're the first Asian American head coach in WNBA history. That's a pretty good resume.
Hands are sweaty when you say this.
I mean, it's so impressive. And, you know, growing up in Huntington Beach and excelling in high school, Tell me the story about your dream school, where you wanted to play. You know, you turned down a full ride at UC Irvine, right? So tell me about that journey.
Yeah, I think, you know, growing up, really it kind of always goes down to, how my dad raised me.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the call from UCI.
Yeah.
This is my senior year, so I haven't declared where I was going. It was still up in the air. Wasn't being recruited by any big schools.
Mm-hmm.
And mind you, I'm 5'1" and 3/4. I stay true to the 3/4. I own it.
Yeah.
And I guess that was the issue, right? Can she actually translate into college? And so I understood that, but someone asked me the other day, like, how did you feel about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, by coaches not recruiting you?
Yeah.
I'm like, I thought they were crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were crazy. I go, I didn't feel a certain way other than I knew, like, once I got to a specific school, I was going to be fine, you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so I just thought they were crazy. And I remember though having the conversation with the coach from UCI because I didn't take any visits. I was
Mm-hmm.
really shy.
Ah, okay.
I
Yeah.
didn't take any visits. I thought that was weird that you just go over there and sleep over and you party with these girls. I that wasn't my thing.
Right.
So yeah, he just basically said like you would start here.
Uh-huh.
You would have a full ride and you would start. And I thought that was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, you haven't seen me practice. I'm like, why would you just give me a starting position?
I love
Right.
that. You wanted to earn it, obviously, earn it on the court. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my dad taught me. It was like
Mm-hmm.
you earn for everything that you do. Nothing's given, nothing is for free.
Yeah.
And so, I ended up playing really, really well in my final CIF championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the basket, and it was like this. It was like
Yeah.
everything I threw up, it just went in. And
Yeah.
because I played so well, because I think I scored, 30 something points, I got, that's when I got the call.
Amazing. Yeah.
Kathy,
Yeah.
yeah. Kathy Levy gave me the call and she said, hey, she's like, would love for you to come, up to UCLA, take a visit. I
Mm-hmm.
said, hell yeah, I'm gonna take
Yeah.
that,
Let's
take that
go.
visit.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. So
Yeah.
me and my dad, drive up to UCLA. I
Uh-huh.
have no idea what's about to happen. And we sit down, have a quick conversation. Kathy just
Mm-hmm.
full of life, good energy. And she said, look, I've heard a lot about you. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, know you too well skill set wise, but she's just like, if you want, I can offer you a walk-on position,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to earn your scholarship every single year. So nothing's guaranteed. And I just said, where do I sign?
Wow, that's like speaking your language about earning it, right? Over and over again. But you got injured, right? Did you get injured before your freshman year, like the summer before, or was it you redshirted, or what was the deal with that?
Oh, I signed, thank God. I
Yeah.
signed first, and
Uh-huh.
then my last summer league game going into UCLA, like in the off season from high school to college, you play in this summer league called Sano
Right.
Classic, and then
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I tore my ACL the last game going into
Unbelievable.
UCLA.
It's like, this happened to me like the last run of a weekend skiing, literally like, should we take another run? Oh yeah, we did. And of course, I blew out my back. So, I mean, I could commiserate. So tell me about that. I mean, here you are, you're at the cusp of, achieving the next level of your basketball career. And now you're down for the count was it an ACL or what was it?
Yeah, I tore my ACL.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I've kind of learned again, going back to my dad, like you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have to always see, see a negative thing if that's what you think and just flip into a positive. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, what can I learn from this?
Right.
Number one, the transition from high school to college is always really challenging from
Mm-hmm.
moving away. Now, you're responsible for yourself. You're not gonna have your parents to do your laundry or eat or all that stuff. So figuring all that stuff out, adjusting to classes,
Mm-hmm.
just managing yourself. I was like, you know what? Maybe this is not a bad thing, Nat. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
this might be a great way for you to transition and not have all the pressure to be playing basketball.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah. Yeah.
Erica Gomez was the starting point guard, and at that time, I wasn't going to play over her. So hindsight, it was actually a benefit that, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I didn't have to sit a year behind her, and
Mm-hmm.
I ended up starting for 3 years and was a captain for 3 years.
Right,
So
but the rehab freshman year, you have to rehab this thing, and that I'm sure there's doubts going through your mind. I mean, it's very Kobe-esque, to be honest with you. I mean, we know. I mean, dude blew out his Achilles in his 16th season, and wanted to come back stronger and better than he was when he, went down, which he did, of course, and dropped 60 and dropped the mic and Mamba out and the whole thing. But there had to be doubts going through your mind, right? Am I going to be able to play at that level? Or, it always astounds me, like Russell Westbrook, for example, like how he had that terrible knee injury. He had a couple of them, right? And then he just came back more explosive than he was before he got injured. I guess it's the athlete's mentality, that you just go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had great care, I'm sure, because UCLA's got the best,
Oh,
rehab
yeah.
facilities ever.
I
So
came back stronger, and I think like what you just said, I mean, remember when you're comparing me with Kobe and like that's another level,
he
but
was on the podcast too. I just gotta let you know. So
okay, yeah, way above. But like the things that you can learn,
yeah,
while you're sitting there, now you're not into like a everyday
yeah,
like exhaustion or whatever. You're rehabbing is a different way, but I got to learn so much by sitting
yeah.
and watching.
Interesting.
So
Yeah,
it actually was, I think, a huge benefit from then for me to transition. And technically, my sophomore year was really my freshman year. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think it was a blessing in disguise.
That's so interesting because I'm thinking about the great Phil Jackson, and he got injured when he played for the Knicks. He was injured that whole season that they won the championship. I think it was '73. And Red Holtzman made him a bench coach, gave him a clipboard. He said, "Take notes." This is when they had like one assistant, so they kept him on the roster, and that's how he kind of like learned coaching, which is interesting. So I want to then go a little bit forward, right? You finish at UCLA, you play a couple of years professionally in the States, then you end up going to Germany, right? Correct me
Yeah.
if I'm wrong on the timeline, but you got injured in Germany, right? And you're 27 at that point, and you have to retire from playing, which I don't even want to get into how agonizing that decision was, but that was a pivotal point in your life and also in your coaching life, right? So tell me about that moment, and then how that led to coaching.
Yeah, I would say just be careful what you wish for. I
Hmm.
did say out loud once I went through the rehab, it was painful.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
look back and I'm like, man, I should just toughen this out. Like,
Hmm.
athletes are going 2 to 3 ACLs and no problem. But I said, if I ever did this again, like I'm going to retire and I'm going to probably start coaching.
Right.
So be careful what you wish for. I shouldn't have said that. Um,
Look where you are now. I mean, I think it's okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
but playing basketball to me is like the best job in the world. Then
yeah.
coaching.
Yeah,
Then
yeah. It's
coaching.
awesome. I was looking at your coaching sort of pedigree, kind of. I didn't realize that your dad was actually your first coach, and you played with your sisters, and your dad coached. And I would love to get your take, maybe just one or two thoughts about each of these pivotal coaches in your career. So your dad, for example, you spoke about him earlier, but what are you taking now as a coach, as a head coach of a professional team from your dad?
Ooh. I actually think my philosophy developed because of my dad and
Mm-hmm.
how he trained me.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people ask, "What's my philosophy?" It's tough love.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's how my dad was. My dad was really hard on me.
Uh-huh.
But when the best thing with my dad was as a parent, at going to my games, like never yelled at me, never said anything, just sat there in
Mm.
silence. But I knew once I got to the car,
Yeah.
that was going to be my
Yeah. Yeah.
post game criticism. But I think that was the biggest thing is my dad held me accountable. He pushed me, but at the same time, like there's times as a young kid, I'm
Uh-huh.
crying, I'm upset, and he would just let me lean on him and
Mm-hmm.
say, and he would always say, "Nat, it's just basketball. It's
Mm.
basketball." I'm like, "Yeah, but you told me we
Yeah.
gotta, we gotta win. I can't miss a free throw and all this stuff." But
Yeah.
it was also nice that my dad could flip
Mm-hmm.
say, Nat, like Natalie, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Let's think about the next day. So I think tough love from my dad,
Mm-hmm.
I think has been really like grounded in me as a coach. And I think that's been key to why it's always been fun for me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Then I was pleasantly surprised that you had a coaching relationship with Bob Hill, who I remember really well from being in the NBA and in Japan, right?
Yep.
Which led to your first professional coaching job in Japan, and then his son Casey, which I didn't even realize that Casey was the coach of the G League Clippers, right?
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
what about that kind of relationship that you had with the Hills?
I mean, Bob was the one who inspired me to be in the NBA because the
Mm,
minute I met him, his practices were just loaded with detail
mm-hmm.
and just super efficient. And I'm like, what is this? So I got completely obsessed with Bob and how he thought the game and
Yeah.
like he asked me to do a scouting report and he's just like, do this again. And I
Mm-hmm.
go back, he's like, do this again. I go back, do this again. He's like, you have to be way more detailed.
Yeah.
And so he was the one that really pushed me. And then Casey, at the time, we were both, Bob's assistants, and Casey would just be so much fun to work with. Like
The
just a
opposite,
ton of
right?
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like, I mean, the silliest things that we did in
Funny.
practice, I don't want to get into it,
Yeah.
but like Casey kept the light side of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there
Mm-hmm.
has to be a balance. You can't just be, like I said, with the tough love. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be, tough, but then at the same time, have fun.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, we got to talk about Doc Rivers, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I got a million Doc stories, and I love that guy more than anything. And he was always so great to me in my career, and I could kind of be a little bit of a pain in the ass, like trying to get in the huddles and all that. But he was always very gracious and very professional, right? What's your takeaway from Doc
Ooh.
that you may be incorporating now as a head coach?
Um, hmm. I think the best thing with Doc was his competitive spirit that he always brought to every game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's just the way that he brought in our first conversation in training camp. It was like, we're going for the championship. There's no other goal,
Yeah.
that we have here.
Yeah.
And so I think that always set the tone in training camp of like how, we practice, whether it was a cut or a screen, it's like, we got to do it the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that made me realize like it starts with the head coach and that mindset and that competitive spirit that you have to bring every single day. I mean, Doc was tough.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single.
No, and he was tough on everybody. It was no like favored.
Yeah.
It was like anybody. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like,
Phil was like that too, the same way. But Doc, being a former player, and a lot of people say he was a player's coach. He is a player's coach. I mean, he cares about his players. He cares about the issues, right? I mean, I was there in the bubble when everything came down, Black Lives Matter, and he was the first one to speak out, really. And then we go to Ty Lue, one of our great friends, of course, but I go back to his beginning of his career, but he turned into a pretty darn good coach, Ty Lue, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's one of the best.
Yeah.
Being able to have him more like as a friend, because we're a little bit more similar age. And so if I can just, ever call him, pick his brain, text him, pick his brain. I mean, wherever he's gone. And, when he was even with the USA coaching, I'm like, hey, why'd you do this?
Right.
What was this idea? Did you think of this? And
Yeah.
so the biggest thing with Tyron Lue that actually I actually didn't ever tell anyone this, but when my dad ended up passing, he actually Doc called me and Tyron Lue called me, and he just said, Nat, he goes, take your time. Okay. Take your time. He
It's
goes,
beautiful.
whenever you're ready to come back, he goes, come back. And I think at that time, like no one understood the power of those words, because as any obsessive worker like yourself, like you feel like if you're not there, you're missing out or you're not staying up to your duties and your responsibilities. So just to hear that I got some time to heal and kind of like mourn, I think that was really special.
Wow, that really is special. That's amazing. Okay, then you get to the WNBA and you're coaching under Becky Hammond, one of the great stars of WNBA history, of course. And Becky, of course, I'm sure had her own philosophy, but she was bringing like stuff right from Greg Popovich. I mean, being on the bench with him. What a special experience it must have been for her, which I'd love to talk to her about at some point. But what did you learn from Becky now going into this job with the Valkyries?
What did I not learn from that?
Right.
Because I got to be Becky's like right-hand man, pretty much.
Sure.
And so to be in that space and to be in that brain of hers, that's just like, she doesn't sleep, number one, probably the top thing.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that I was shocked with Becky is that she has such a big heart. I know that kind of sounds bad because she has this stern face.
Yeah. People don't get that because she is very kind of has that sort of mask of kind of
like
right.
a stoic look. But no, Becky is like the funniest. She wants to have fun all the time. She wants to dance. She wants to sing.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that she taught me is that you have to open your heart to your players.
Yeah.
You have to open your heart. That's when you get the buy-in. That's when everyone becomes their authentic self. And she said that even with me, like, I want you to be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, but I also want you to challenge me. And I'm like, no problem. So
Yeah.
it's just great that Becky kind of puts and sets the tone for our team. And I think that's why we actually won our first year.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. All right, so let's fast forward to October 10th, 2024, right? That's the date you were named head coach of this brand new franchise, Valkyries. Let's talk about that date, all right? Because you obviously you knew it was coming because they had already told you, but this was publicly announced that day. I mean, what was going through your mind that day?
Ooh, everything.
Yeah,
Everything. Just excitement. I think obviously it was my first press conference. So as you know, me, I'm a preparation person. So it was
yeah,
like, don't mess up, Natalie. Don't say too many cuss words. Don't
yeah.
offend anyone. It was all that. But at the same time, it was great to kind of just be celebrated by all the people that, really supported and I went through the interview process.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I watched that press conference. It was great. So now you're head coach, right? Schedule comes out. I took a look at your schedule. I found 3 dates that had got to be circled in red on your calendar, right? First, May 6th opening night at Chase Center against the Sparks. That's going to be unbelievable, right? I would think. I've been to a bunch of opening nights. I actually, believe it or not, I was there on opening night 1984 when the Clippers had moved from San Diego to LA at the Sports Arena. I'm
Okay.
dating myself. But to be a new franchise in front of this, it's going to be a raucous crowd. I can imagine what the game presentation is going to look like. And you just have to kind of be calm, cool, and collected. And the ladies got to go out and kick some butt that day, right? So that's one day. I got May 23rd when you are returning to Crypto.com Arena as a head coach. You're going to be playing the Sparks. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then, of course, June 7th, you're home against the Aces and your former coaching buddy, Becky Hammond. So I just circled those 3, but does anything stand out of those 3 or any other date that might, be circled in red?
Well, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I have them all circled. I have them all.
Yeah,
Uh,
I got you. Okay.
well, May 16th, obviously, it's our first. We're making history. That's
Mm-hmm.
definitely just special for the organization, for Joe Lacob, for
Mm-hmm.
everyone who helped bring
Yeah.
this team together. So
Yep.
that's special. But like, I want to win every single game. To me, there's importance on every single game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how I want our players to look at it. Because as you know, athletes,
Yeah.
whether it's a national television game, whether it's a rivalry, like you have all these right
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I want every game to be this is war.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, this is going to be an instant rivalry already. I mean, SoCal, Northern Cal, the whole thing, right? So I want to talk a little bit about the ownership group, right? Joe Lacob, Peter Guber, the history of winning there. You're playing in the same arena as the Warriors. The banners hanging on the wall. I saw that the word Valkyries. I'm going to say the definition. You know it, but our listeners don't. Valkyries are a host of warrior women who are fearless and unwavering, flying through air and sea alike. Right. So on top of that, your owner said that you're going to win a championship within the first 5 years. So that's some interesting motivation right there. Right? Harkens back to the Golden Knights in Vegas, right? When their owner said that they were going to win a cup, which they did, I think in their 6th year, right? Talk a little bit, if you could, about what the Warriors organization is bringing to the table with your own practice facility and beautiful locker room and all of that, and what that means to you as a new coach.
it means a lot. Like the standard, like you said, Joe said, win in 5 years. Like that's what he said with the Warriors. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't change. It
Right.
doesn't
Right.
matter. So, and as you know, Joe, he's one of the most competitive people
Mm-hmm.
that you'll ever meet, and goes back to the way my dad raised me and how Doc was. Like to me, it's all familiar territory that I
Right.
love.
Right.
So, I was very attracted, to Joe, to the Warriors, but yeah, we're playing in Chase. We're
Yeah.
playing. one of, I think, the most electric arenas for sure for the W.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we're remodeling the Warriors' old practice facility in Oakland.
Right. I read that. That's fantastic. First of all, I used to love going to that facility because it was always a fun place to shoot for me. But the fact that's now your home
Yeah.
base, that's fabulous. That's amazing. Yeah.
Like we had signs before we kind of remodeled everything. I mean, it's like Steve Kerr, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool that,
Yeah.
you're actually walking into like a skeleton of what they've already, built, and they had their blood, sweat, and tears in this building. So I don't want to race too much. Like I don't want to remodel too much because I love the fact that there has been a ton of winning and a big winning culture here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now it doesn't rub off, but I want our players to understand what's the responsibility when you do walk into this building.
Yeah, for sure. It warms my heart that you guys are going to be playing in Chase because, it's an NBA arena, obviously. Most teams have moved out of NBA arenas. Now they're moving back. I just saw that the Chicago Sky announced that they're going to start playing games at United Center because the fan base requires it, is demanding it. I go back to the beginning of time with the WNBA. I was at the very first game in '97. And my kids were little, and my daughter and all her friends used to love going to Sparks games. And we go to games, and this is, they played on the Laker court. They just put like a different decal down. Now it's obviously, all for WNBA, but it was so great for these little girls. They were like 5, 6 years old to say, "Is this the same court that Shaq and Kobe play on?" Like they couldn't, and then they would see, women competing on that same court with the banners hanging and the whole thing. And you grew up with that too, because, WNBA was in existence. Some of the guests we've had, like Nancy Lieberman or Ann Myers Drysdale, they didn't have a WNBA to aspire to. So you're passing the torch. The torch actually has been passed to you now for this next generation. And I would love to know your take on that for this young generation of girls.
Yeah, I take on a whole big responsibility, because I think sports is so important as a kid. I mean, it taught me literally how to survive in this world that when you're a kid, you have no idea what is about to hit. And so, sports teaches you about adversity, how to survive after a loss or a bad game, or, just constantly trying to compete and be your best. I think some of those attributes of sports are the best things. And so the more, little girls can look up to our players and be like, hey, I want to be an Asia Wilson. I want to be a Kate Martin. Like that to me, if we can do that in our community for the Bay, which I do believe because our ticket sales is actually number one. They actually just declared they're number one, which is pretty impressive, hence we're expansion team. But I think that's going to be really powerful. The more viewership, as you can see, the more, we're increasing.
Yeah.
So I think now setting the stage, like you said, the arenas, and we can put more, young adults or even little boys.
Yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah. The day I got announced, I ended up watching one of the Warriors preseason games. I'm in a suite and boom, just 10 young little boys, age of 10. Can I have your autograph? What is going on here?
Yeah, that's amazing. I have 3 girls. I have 3 daughters. My son is the oldest, but I'm a girl dad. So, Kobe and I talked about it all the time, and of course, his aspirations and what Gigi could have become, we can only speculate. But women's sports near and dear to my heart. I don't call it women's sports, just sports. But to see a good friend, somebody who has worked her way up like you have, and I can say I knew you when. I wish I had seen you play at UCLA because that would have been fun. But Natalie, I just wish you all the best of success. I hope it's a fun experience for you too, that you can, because I also kind of know that you're able to kind of sit back and enjoy the moment and be in the moment, and it's not just pressure all the time. But I'm hoping to be there at one of these games. I don't know if I'll be there May 6th, but maybe the 23rd when you come back to LA. That would be fun.
Oh yeah, definitely be there. And just again, I'm so grateful and humbled to be on this.
Oh, thank you for making time.
But also just I never got to tell you, like just watching you from afar, always showing up, always with a positive attitude, always being professional. It actually, it inspired me from afar, and I never got to tell you
Oh,
that because,
thank you.
yeah,
Nobody's ever said that to me like on my own podcast. So thank you for that.
but
That's
it's
really great.
true. And you do it with passion, and I could tell you it is your passion. And I
Yeah.
think that also when I see people like that, it motivates me to continue and to, hey, he's doing this. You're there
Yeah.
every game,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
game, or Clippers or Lakers, and
Yeah.
so I
Thank you.
admire your work ethic, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. I mean, you know better than a lot of people what a grind it is, how long the season is. You just don't walk into the game and leave after 48 minutes. It's
Right.
and again, when I would show up and I'd see you out there, warming the guys up or chopping it up on video or whatever you would do, and as a girl dad, I got to tell you, it was really heartwarming. And to see you now in the big chair, I wish you all the best of success. Really, Natalie. Good luck.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And it's great to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. Wow, such a great conversation with Natalie Nakase. Wishing her and the Golden State Valkyries the best of success in their inaugural WNBA season. I'm definitely going to catch a game this year. Big thanks to Morgan Randolph from the Valkyries for helping to make this interview possible. I know everyone there is crazy busy getting ready for the season, so I appreciate all the efforts to carve out some time with Natalie for this episode. Thanks, folks, for tuning in to this episode and for continuing to support the Legends of Sport podcast presented by Fujifilm. Please follow them on Instagram at FujifilmX_US. That's at FujifilmX_US. Folks, please tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport, and to our Instagram at Legends of Sport. My photography can also be found on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Big thanks as always to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Shao. Thanks again, everyone, for checking out this episode. We'll be back next week with another great episode on the Legends of Sport podcast presented by Fujifilm.